Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You know what the most interesting thing about sci-fi films are? They can take an audience to a world unlike anything you could ever imagine. Think about it. Films like Avatar took us to Pandora. Several Marvel films like Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy took us to a new universe. Passengers took us to Homestead 2. The Winx Club series took us to the Magic Dimension. And Tomorrowland took us to a futuristic dimension. But just a couple days ago, I saw a new sci-fi film that took me on a ride that really blew my mind. And that film is what I'll be blogging tonight. Released on March 9th, 2018, the movie is A Wrinkle in Time. Now let's get started. Meg Murray and her little brother Charles Wallace have been without their scientist father, Dr. Murray, for 5 years. Ever since he discovered a new planet and used the concept known as Tesseract to travel there, joined by Meg's classmate Calvin O. Keith and guided by the 3 mysterious astral travelers, the children must brave a dangerous journey to a planet that possesses all the evil in the universe. So, what did I think of this movie? Well, this movie was absolutely astounding. In other words, I liked it. But before I get ahead of myself on why I love this film, let's move on to Mustang notes. In October 2010, it was announced that Walt Disney Pictures had retained the film rights for the 1962 novel A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle, which had previously been made as a 2003 TV film. Following the financial success of Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, Disney announced that they had hired Jeff Stockwell to write the screenplay for Cary Grant and for his new Bedrock Studios. Grant had previously worked with Disney on the Chronicles of Narnia and Bridge of Terabithia movies. The project's budget was slated to be $35 million, which the company compared to District 9 and Bridge of Terabithia, both of which were made with less than $30 million. On October 5th, 2014, Jennifer Lee was announced as a screenwriter, taking over from Stockwell, who wrote the first draft. On February 8, 2016, it was reported that Ava DuVernay had been offered the job of directing the movie, and she was confirmed to direct later that same month. She became the first woman of color to direct a live-action film with a production budget over $100 million. Principal photography on the movie began on November 2nd, 2016 in Los Angeles, California, which was where I was born. After Los Angeles, production moved to New Zealand for 2 weeks. Tobias A. Schweitzer was the film's cinematographer. Naomi Shohan was the production designer. Paco Delgado was the costume designer. And Rich McBride was the visual effects supervisor. Filming for A Wrinkle in Time took place in Eureka, California, in Humboldt County, starting on November 29, 2016, and ending on December 5th or 6th. Filming also took place at Eureka's Sequoia Park, located next to Sequoia Park Zoo. During the last 2 weeks of February 2017, filming locations for A Wrinkle in Time were established to be in central Otago, New Zealand. Actors and crew involved were in New Zealand for the first 2 weeks to shoot scenes in the Southern Alps, including at Hunter Valley Station near Lake Hawea, with cast and crew treated to a traditional Maori powwow and karakai by the Maori of New Zealand. Filming wrapped up in New Zealand's South Island after 2 weeks, and Duvernay declared the cast and crew's love for New Zealand in an Instagram post. Now, sadly, I never really read the original book, but I did watch the 2003 TV version on Netflix about 8 years ago. Now, don't really ask me to compare it because it's been far too long for me to remember anything from it. On the other hand, I did buy the book and gave it to my sister as a Christmas present last year. But I wonder if she's enjoyed reading said book already, and if so, has she finished reading it by now? Now, in my opinion, the best part of this movie are the visual effects, which are outstanding. I really like how each dimension is presented in this movie. For example, one dimension has a beautiful field, which makes me think of the field from The Sound of Music. Also, one is all overcast and has a rocky path with a cave filled with orange crystals. And then there's Kamastas, or however it's pronounced. In this planet, the environments change randomly. For example, when our main characters first land there, it starts out like a field that I think came from Tomorrowland. And it then changes to a forest with a maelstrom, as well as a white room with blueprint sketches. Plus, there are 2 sceneries that seem kind of familiar to me, like this neighborhood here. It almost looks like a neighborhood where one of my friends from Vocational Visions lives in. And of course, during the beach scene, I could have sworn that some of the towels look like these towels that my parents own. As for the story, well, most of it is very reminiscent to Kingdom Hearts in my opinion, with one plot point pretty similar to Tron Legacy. Plus, there are a few parts of the movie that are very intense and thought-provoking. But thankfully, it doesn't stop me from liking this movie. And now, let's move on to the cast. Our main heroine, Meg Murray, is played by Storm Reed. In my opinion, I find Meg to be a very likable and relatable character because she's very smart and she's able to master complex technology and craft brilliant plans. However, after her dad disappeared, Meg has been having trouble socializing and she distances herself from her family. But thankfully, her adventure across the universe allows her to both be sociable and reestablish her bonds with her family. I also think Meg is a brave character, like nearing the end when she pulls an act of true love to save her brother Charles Wallace from the It's mind control. Next we have Meg's little adopted brother, Charles Wallace, played by Derek McCabe. In my opinion, Charles Wallace is a wise, kind, gentle, and a loving brother to his sister. I also like the parts when Charles stands up for Meg, but on the other hand, sometimes the way he talks towards people can go pretty far. Also, how he managed to come across the Astral Travelers is beyond me. Next we have Calvin O'Keefe, played by Levi Miller, who previously was Peter Pan in Pan from 2015. To me, despite the fact that he barely knows Meg or Charles Wallace, I think he makes a decent supporting character. Also, I think the scene where Calvin levitates is very reminiscent to Peter Pan. Next we come to the Astral Travelers, starting with Mrs. Witch, played by Oprah Winfrey, whom I remember from Charlotte's Web from 2006, The Princess and the Frog, Selma, and The Star. In my opinion, Mrs. Witch is the wisest of the Astral Travelers, and she tries to help Meg find her dad while teaching her to have more faith in herself. The other Astral Travelers are Mrs. Whatsit, played by Reese Witherspoon, best known from the Legally Blonde films, as well as Monsters vs. Aliens, Penelope, and Sing. To me, Mrs. Whatsit is the perkiest of the three, and she has a strong connection with the children. Plus, I really think her outfits are very beautiful. Plus, her leaf spirit form almost makes me think of the Spring Sprite from Fantasia 2000. And there's Mrs. Who, played by Mindy Kaling, whom I remember from Wreck-It Ralph and Inside Out. So you could say that this movie is Mindy's first live-action Disney film. To me, Mrs. Who seems the vaguest. Perhaps that's because her words are not her own. Nearly everything she says is a quotation from something else. Next we have Meg and Charles Wallace's father, Dr. Alex Murray, played by Chris Pine, best known from the 2009 Star Trek reboot, along with Into the Woods, Wonder Woman, and Rise of the Guardians. Now, it's hard to talk about Dr. Murray since he doesn't appear too much in the movie, due to him being trapped in Comatose, or however it's pronounced. But all I can say is that he is a brilliant scientist, especially during a few flashbacks where he shows Meg some of his research. Finally, we come to Red, aka the It. As Red, he's played by Michael Pena, best known from World Trade Center, Ant-Man, Turbo, and My Little Pony the movie. But as the It, he's voiced by David Oyelowo, I hope I pronounced that right, who got to be in Queen of Katwe and voiced Scar's ghost in The Lion Guard. Gee, that's twice that Scar was a ghost. Anyway, about the It. Firstly, don't let this thing confuse you for the Stephen King character, because the It in this story is way different. You see, the It is a techno-organic being who keeps the population of the planet Camozotz under his control, with mind control that combines mind-controlling implants with his own cosmic powers. Plus, he even spreads negative emotions to the people with his darkness. To me, this character is a very dark villain, especially when he possesses Charles Wallace's mind. Plus, the ending climax, where Meg has to face the It, is pretty similar to the final climax in Epic Mickey. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, I think A Wrinkle in Time, while not a perfect adaptation of the original book, was still a very thrilling movie. The main characters like Meg and Charles Wallace are very likable and relatable. Plus, Calvin was a decent supporting character, and I think the Astral Travelers made this movie worth watching. Also, the villain Red, aka the It, is a very dark villain. Lastly, the CGI visuals are very incredible, and the story is very thought-provoking. And the movie gives a nice lesson to keep your light shining bright and use it to stop the darkness. So, I highly recommend you viewers to check this movie out. And I just hope, if my sister manages to come visit me, I can reread the story someday. As for my rating, I give this movie an 84% out of 100. Well, that's it for tonight, everyone. Be sure to join me for my next blog, where I take a look at one of DreamWorks' worst films from last year, Mustang Power.